So earlier this week, Republicans dragged Sally Yates into a Senate hearing to investigate their continued conspiracy theories about the Michael Flynn investigation, and it went so poorly for them. Remember that Sally Yates is the former Deputy Attorney General. She's criticized the Justice Department's decision to drop the prosecution against Michael Flynn, who is, as a reminder, the former Trump national security advisor who had been indicted. So Republicans have cooked up all sorts of different conspiracy theories, many of which go through Sally Yates, and Republicans control the Senate, at least until January. They brought Sally Yates in to testify via video conference, and it just went so poorly for Republicans. I want to show you a few clips. Now, she testified about how the Obama White House first became alarmed about Michael Flynn's behavior, that Flynn was having secret discussions with the Russian ambassador before being sworn in. He was talking to Mike Pence about things that really stunk to high heaven. So Yates explains that it was investigated, plain and simple. There was really no scandal there. But of course, Republicans have been desperate and continue to be desperate to claim that there was an Obama administration conspiracy to take down Trump that includes the Obama administration illegally spying on the Trump campaign, all of this different stuff. They want to claim that it was investigative abuse and much more. But take a look at how badly this imploded in their faces. Sally Yates facing a very hostile panel of questioning from Republicans. Here's Lindsey Graham, maybe one of the most unhinged, brown-nosing Trump sycophants, trying to play prosecutor. And he doesn't like Sally Yates's answers, so he keeps interrupting. And Senator Patrick Leahy tells him, hey, Senator Graham, just because Sally Yates is a woman doesn't mean you have to keep interrupting her, which is hilarious. And it kind of threw Lindsey Graham off for a moment. Take a look.
Now let's talk about a January 5th meeting. Was the vice president there?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Did he mention the Logan Act?
You know, I don't remember the vice president saying much of anything in this meeting.
So you don't remember him mentioning the Logan Act?
No, I don't.
Did anybody mention the Logan Act?
I have a vague memory of Director Comey mentioning the Logan Act.
Okay, what was he mentioning the Logan Act about? In what context?
Well, I'm not sure if he mentioned that in the Oval Office meeting or in the meeting that he
What do
and
you
I
think
had.
about the...
Mr. Chairman, let her answer the question. Just because it's a woman testifying doesn't mean she has to be cut off.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Senator Lee. I really appreciate that. You're very constructive. So here's my question.
Lindsey Graham is so horrible, and he does have a challenger in his Senate race. I want to remind you that Jamie Harrison is running against Lindsey Graham. We could remove, by we, I mean the voters of South Carolina, could remove Lindsey Graham. That's an interesting race to follow and maybe get involved in. Continuing, here's a video of Ted Cruz saying, when did you first learn that the Obama administration was spying on the Trump campaign? Yates says, that never happened. And Ted Cruz visibly flummoxed.
Ms. Yates, when did you first become aware that the Obama administration was surveilling the Donald Trump campaign?
The Obama administration was not surveilling the Donald Trump campaign.
Just a bizarre moment. I mean, this is desperation from these Republicans. And of course, all of this is meant to distract from the disaster after disaster after disaster that is the current Trump administration. And Ted Cruz actually continued to propose things that never happened during his questioning of Sally Yates. And Sally Yates continually had to continue putting him in his place. Take a look at another example.
So a FISA application is not surveillance?
The FISA application was for Carter Page, who was a former member of the Trump campaign at that point.
So your testimony is that the investigation in Carter Page had nothing to do with the Donald Trump campaign?
No, I'm suggesting you asked me if we were surveilling the campaign.
You don't get it both ways. Is it the campaign or not?
Senator, I'm trying to give you what is the accurate information here. Carter Page was a former member of the Trump campaign at the time that the FISA was initiated.
And what was the reason for the FISA on Carter Page?
there were a number of reasons. First, we had gotten the information that I was trying to point out here, that the Russians had made the overture that they wanted to be able to assist the Trump campaign.
Now, hold on, you said it had nothing to do with the Trump campaign.
I said that he was not a member of the Trump campaign at the time that we initiated the FISA.
Now, the really sad thing is that in Republican circles, they see these same videos and they see this as really brutal questioning from Ted Cruz that Sally Yates fell apart. It's semantic games. It's really a lesson, actually, in how the right makes their argument. And it's a lot of semantic games and optics. And I wish it didn't work, but it works. If you look at how Republicans respond to Kayleigh McEnany's press briefings, you know, Kayleigh comes out and she scolds the media, and then she always has some scripted walkout that is, it makes me cringe when I see it, but there are people who love it. The vapid scripted walk-offs and the attacks on media, many of us accurately see them for what they are, which are just completely empty, vapid, meaningless optics. But there are Republicans who love it. And Donald Trump Jr. will retweet it as Kayleigh owns the media. And that's exactly the same thing that happens with briefings or with testimony like this, where the questions Lindsey Graham is asking, the questions Ted Cruz is asking, they are dumb leading questions. And Sally Yates has no choice but to say, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. But there is a contingent that says, wow, she really fell apart. Let's look at just a tiny bit more. Cruz just keeps going here.
So when they came to you asking to surveil members of the Trump campaign because of conduct they allegedly did while members of the Trump campaign, what due diligence did you do? Did you press back at all? You already told Senator Kennedy you just trusted the FBI. You didn't ask about their sources. What due diligence did you do before signing off on what we now have significant reason to believe was a profound politicization of law enforcement and intelligence?
Senator, there was a tremendous amount of process back and forth between the lawyers in the National Security Division and the FBI.
Okay, I asked what you did, not other lawyers. What due diligence did you do? You were the one signing off on it.
And with respect to whether the facts were accurate in this instance.
So did you inquire whether it was opposition research funded by the DNC or Hillary Clinton?
Yes, I did have a discussion about that.
With whom?
So it was hours of this stuff, hours and hours. And it's like trying to squeeze water from a rock. It's like there's a lake where all the water is. And that's the disaster after scandal, after embarrassment of the Trump administration. They ignore the lake where you could just go and drink the water. And instead, they focus on picking up rocks and trying to squeeze water out of them and pretending that the lake doesn't exist. And we'd better thank them for trying to squeeze water out of a rock. It's pathetic. It's going absolutely nowhere. But if Trump wins in November, you can expect a lot more of this. One of our sponsors is Cuts Clothing, and they're giving you 15% off of everything they offer when you go to davidpakman.com/cuts. That's CUTS. Cuts Clothing has completely changed the game when it comes to solid color t-shirts. Obviously, solid color t-shirts are an important staple in any wardrobe, which is all the more reason that you should be wearing t-shirts that you actually love. It really does impact your day-to-day. You've got your typical poorly made t-shirt. It's scratchy, it shrinks, the neck becomes all floppy, the color fades, it all starts to warp over time. None of that happens with Cuts Clothing. As soon as I first put on a t-shirt from Cuts Clothing, I could immediately tell the difference between this and the other poorly made shirts that I've owned in the past. And it's really a very noticeable level of quality and comfort and style, which I believe will change how you think about t-shirts. Go check out what they offer. They also have this new line of polo shirts. It's really more comfortable than any polo shirt I've ever worn. Cuts Clothing will be a total game changer when it comes to t-shirts. They're really the only t-shirt worth buying. And now they've got the polos. And you'll get 15% off when you go to davidpakman.com/cuts. That's davidpakman.com/CUTS.